Hey folks, this is Matt once again, and I wanted to review another comedy because I had reviewed Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and this is a classic to me. I would definitely say this is one of my favorite comedies. I grew up with this film. Um, if I did like a top 10 of comedies, this would definitely be on it. Just a film I find very entertaining. From, I believe, 1989, it is See No Evil, Hear No Evil, with the great Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. Now, Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder had done movies before. In fact, I know Richard Pryor was at first going to star in Blazing Saddles with Gene Wilder, but I think the studio or something were not really sure on Richard Pryor, so they got another actor. But of course, they would work together on Silver Street, this is actually directed by the same guy who directed Silver Street, Arthur Hiller. And just real quickly, Arthur Hiller, some of the films he's done has been the original Out of Towners in 1970, I believe that's with Jack Lemmon. Plaza Suite, I think that's with uh, Walter Matthau, I believe. The In-Laws, he did Author, The Lonely Guy with Steve Martin, he did a film called Teachers, Taking Care of Business, he did The Babe with John Goodman, and I don't know, he did stuff that wasn't really too great, like Carpool with Tom Arnold. I don't watch it as a time waster, but it's definitely not up to this. And then an Alan Smithy film, Burn Hollywood Burn. That's probably at least the worst film I've seen of his. Uh, his last film was 2006, something called National Lampoon's Pucked. So that's pretty sad. But uh, Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder after Silver Streak, which real quick, like Silver Streak, that one I liked the film, but at the same time, to be perfectly honest, I think that film sort of uh, comes alive when Richard Pryor gets into the film, which is probably, it's either halfway into the film or an hour into the film. I don't own Silver Streak, unfortunately. That's one I have to get because I have the others, including their least. Another You would be the last one they do, but that's their worst. But I don't have Silver Streak. I have to get that sometime. But I remember like it's either halfway into the film or an hour into the film. That's when Richard Pryor comes in, and to me, that's when the movie really comes alive. The stuff before it, to me, just didn't really interest me. With Gene Wilder on this train, someone gets killed. But when Richard Pryor comes in, I mean, you got that famous scene with trying to teach Gene Wilder how to be black and walk and stuff. Uh, then they did Stir Crazy, which is probably their most famous, definitely the one that made the most money. And I like Stir Crazy. I will say though, my problem with Stir Crazy is that the third act, where they get into the rodeo and they have to escape, which at the end of the day was fucking pointless because they were proved innocent. And really the whole third act with the rodeo and them trying to escape wasn't, they kind of like all the comedy was gone. Which was kind of weird because you're watching a comedy and then the third act, it's really no comedy at all. It's really not funny at all. In the third act, I thought that third act really kind of deflated. But the rest of the film was really good. Them giving him jelly, yeah, I'm bad. And flicking the, oh shit. If you've seen the film, you know what I mean. If not, maybe I'll review that sometime. But this one, it's my favorite. I will say not only is it my favorite collaboration between the two, because after this they did one called Another You, and to be honest, Another You was really not that good. I think especially when Richard Pryor was showing his, I don't know if I don't want to call it disability or illness. I don't know which one to prefer, but his condition was worsening, which was a real shame. But this one, it handled here, I think because of the character he had to play, so it kind of works with the role, and it's not as much. It's like, I know he did one before this called Critical Condition, and in that film, I liked that film, but at times it was kind of sad, because you could kind of tell Richard Pryor was, the condition. God, I can't remember what the actual condition was, so let me go into that real quick, because I don't want to say it and screw it up. But I would say this is my favorite Richard Pryor film, as well as my favorite Gene Wilder film, and my favorite collaboration. I like Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles, but this is my favorite. And I like stuff he did like Moving, Richard Pryor I'm talking about this time. Moving and Bustin' Loose and Brewster's Millions, and I even like The Toy, but I really, uh, this would be my favorite. It would definitely be my favorite. And multiple sclerosis was the term. Multiple sclerosis he had, which was a shame, very big shame. But as for the film itself, Richard Pryor is blind, Gene Wilder's deaf. Richard Pryor gets a job working at the place that Gene Wilder's working. As they're working, there's a murder that happens under their noses. And when they finally realize it, the cops are there and they get arrested, so they have to escape, prove their innocence, get the bad guys, which are these two, Joan Severance and Kevin Spacey. Yes, Kevin Spacey with a mustache. It's weird seeing Kevin Spacey. I guarantee you no one asked Kevin Spacey about this film, which I thought he did a good job with, but pretty much they gotta prove their innocence. And why I like the idea that one's blind and one's deaf and they gotta help each other out. And some people say, oh, well, it's a gimmick. But, well, if it's a gimmick that worked well. It worked well in the situations. And I thought these two just held their own. I know, read somewhere that Gene Wilder said if he did the film, he would want to do a rewrite on the script. Even though it says on here, screenplay by Earl Barrett and Arne Sultan, that was a team. Elliot Wald and Andrew Kurtzman, that was a team, and Gene Wilder. And I thought that they did a great job with it. I thought it was very funny. Stuart Copeland, real quickly, who did the music. I really like the music to this film. Bum, bum, bum. Especially at the opening. I'm not sure if you call it electronic music or what kind of music. I mean, if you've seen the film, you know it's kind of hard for me to whistle it or anything. But what I love about the film is these two, I think, are pitch perfect in this film. I mean, you got Richard Pryor. He's with his, I believe, his sister. And he's a blind guy, but he doesn't want people to know that he's blind. So he's like reading the newspaper, but it's upside down. And she's like, you know, you're making a fool of yourself. You know, trying people think you have 20/20. It'd be like, you know, trying to make people think you're white. And he stands up like, you mean I'm not white? What? Why didn't you tell me this before? Huh? It feels white. Ah! Does Dad know? Just giving his sister shit. But he tries to pose, like, hey, I got this, I guess he's walking down. But he asks, like, there's another blind guy, he's like, can you help me? And Richard Pryor, he doesn't want to admit, you know, to the person he's blind. So he's like, okay. And so it's like the blind leading the blind. And when he gets to Gene Wilder, like, Richard Pryor's talking to him, but Gene Wilder, again, he's deaf, but he can read lips. So he's helping this person, and each time he's like, hey, how's it going? And Richard Pryor's been talking, he's like, whoa, read the Twilight Zone? Hey, you're a funny guy. And then, like, he drops some stuff, Gene Wilder picks it up, and Gene Wilder's like, who are you talking to? I'm talking to you, you prick, you know. When you look me in the eyes when you say that. Because I'm blind. You're really blind. What? And then Richard Pryor just is like, what, are you fucking deaf? And it's like, yes, I'm fucking deaf. So they have a great rapport, and I'm so glad this was rated R, that they didn't hold back on it. I thought that was a really good note on it as well. Just so many funny scenes. You have the scene where, of course, when they escape, Richard Pryor's driving the car and Gene Wilder's handcuffed and he's trying to guide. It gets to a point where they go to like a meat packing plant and Gene Wilder says, well, you just hit a cow. I think you should back up. You have scenes like there's a one down the road where they have to push a car in to hide the car so they don't get found out. And, you know, G. Wilder is like, wow, you really cuss a lot. You fucking ain't right. And then G. Wilder tries to mimic Richard Pryor's like, fucking ain't something bothers you, fuck it. Your wife leaves you, fuck her. Your boss fires you, fuck him. Fucking A, fucking him, right? Pryor's like, you fucking ain't right. You know, I can't believe that. That's gotta be a gift to be able to do that. And Richard Pryor's like, then fucking change. That was hilarious. Or like, there's a scene where they get arrested, and like they're trying to, this lady's trying to take his picture, you know, mugshot, and Richard Pryor's to the side. So it's this sort of gag that I thought was really hilarious, where Richard Pryor, like, she keeps telling Gene Wilder to, you know, to stay still, but of course he can't read her lips. So he's like, stay still, and so Richard Pryor nudges him and tells him, okay, stay still. So of course Gene Wilder had to turn and read the lips and tells him to stay still, so he stays still. And she's like, what is he doing? I want him facing me. And Richard Pryor's like, he's not facing you? No. Hey, face the camera. And then she's like, don't move. And then Richard Pryor touches him, don't move. And then he takes the side. It's like, shit, shit, shit. The lady who took the picture, shit, shit. And Gene Wilder's like, did she say ship or shit? She said shit. Well, of course, why would she say ship, ship, ship? That wouldn't make any sense. Or before, or like during that, this detective is talking to them. And like, he's talking to Richard Pryor and doesn't realize he's blind. Then he's talking to Gene Wilder, and he's, because one of the things is that Gene Wilder saw the legs, that it was a lady who killed the person. And then like the detective tells Gene Wilder, well, he asks, no bullshit, was she or wasn't she a woman? Are you serious? Yes, I'm goddamn serious. Fuzzy Wuzzy was a woman? And he's like, what the hell is he talking about? The man reads lips, you're talking too fast, is what Richard Pryor tells him. And so then the detective does this sort of, was there a woman present? Gene Wilder just gives him shit like, yes, there was a woman present. He's like, no, why is he talking like that? And Richard Pryor's like, because the man's deaf, not stupid. Or like later on, they get caught by the two bad guys, and as for the plot with the bad guys, it's not much. I mean, something about a coin, but there's something to do with the coin, and it leads to the main bad guy at the end, which is a nice little twist to the main bad guy at the end, which I thought was kind of clever. That you find out a little something about the bad guy at the end. That was kind of clever. Uh, but either way, there's a point where they get caught, and like she asks, you know, Gene Wilder if he has any last things, and he's like, "Can you scratch my nose?" And she does, and she asks Richard Pryor, "Do you have a last request?" And he's like, "I guess a fuck is out of the question, huh?" um, or like, there's another scene when they first meet, and Richard Pryor's like, "I'm gonna invite you to, you know, have a drink with me," and so they get in this fight. And Jim Wilder's like, oh, Wally, that's his Richard Pryor's character's name. Wally, you know, don't. He's going to put a hole through your head. And Richard Pryor's like, fuck him in his holes. That was a good line. Fuck him in his holes. And like, he's trying, and then the way they fight is that basically Gene Wilder grabs Richard Pryor's hips and tells him, okay, go to the right, go to the right, go to the right. Then go to the left, left, left. Okay, gives him like time, like 12 o'clock, you know, 11 or 9 o'clock. And like they get in a fight in like this bar. Just so many hilarious stuff. And to me, it continues throughout the rest of the movie. It's not just, for me, it's not just funny at the very beginning or funny at the very end. It's funny throughout. These two guys are together, and you really buy their friendship in this film. Granted, in real life, I'm sure they had a lot of problems with each other, like a lot of comedy teams do. If you look it up, Adam Costello, Cheech and Chong, sooner or later, it just seems like you have problems. But in this film, they had a great chemistry together from beginning to end. They're very funny, and it was nice seeing. I thought Joan Severance did a good job with the bad as a female bad guy, and Kevin Spacey was fun as well. I really liked the score by Stuart Copeland. I thought the film went at a very fast pace. I thought it was very funny, a lot of great lines. Even stuff I haven't said in the review, you guys can find those out for yourself to see it. And the car chase I thought was pretty funny. You have some fun physical stuff, but as well as verbal. And I appreciate the fact it was rated R. That was a big help. And the film made some money. It made, I think I read somewhere it cost around 18 million and made around 47 million. So maybe it wasn't as big as Stir Crazy, but to be honest, this is my favorite Richard Pryor, and this is my favorite of these guys. So thanks for watching.